I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Monroe County Stormwater Management Board meeting for Wednesday, May 7th, 2025 at 3:30 p.m. We are here live in the Nat U Hill Room, and present we have Tron Enright Randolph, Julie Thomas, myself, Jody Madeira, and I believe, who do we have? Is Lee Jones here online?
No.
Okay, if she comes on, just we can just promote her. So our first order of business today is public input for items not on the agenda. Seeing none, I will move on. I'd like to bring a motion for the approval of minutes for April 2nd, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
And do we take just a consensus vote, essentially?
We can do all votes with aye and no here because we're all in person.
Perfect. So I would, I'll call the vote now. All those in favor of approving the minutes for April 2nd, 2025, say aye.
Aye.
No nays, no abstentions. Thank you. Moving on to the stormwater expenditure report for March 2025.
Okay, we only had really a couple of larger ones. Backfill pavement, $16,638.63, and that was mostly from the bridge crew. And then for the STIP road, we had $255,056, and that's because it was a bill that was in December. We did not get it until 2025, and we had to pay it.
Excellent.
Oh, and I forgot one thing.
Sure.
March, we did for the permits, we brought in $32.97, and so far $7,291.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Do we ask for public comment on those matters?
No, but I don't have any comments.
Do you have any comments, Tron?
I don't.
Excellent. Hearing no comments, we will move on to considering new business. The first order of new business is the Soil and Water Conservation District updates.
You're first.
Hi.
Welcome.
Martha.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Excellent.
I just want to give you guys a quick overview before we start the video. I played this video at the council meeting, a month ago, and it really sums up better what soil and water is and how it relates to stormwater in general than anything I've seen yet. I do want to point out this is a Pike County producer, but we have producers here in Monroe County doing this. So there you go.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Do you have any comments, Commissioner Thomas? Any comments, Surveyor Tron Enright Randolph?
No, I watched this at the council meeting, and maybe when you come back up, you could introduce yourself just for the public and for the record. I'm very familiar with who you are.
Excellent point. Thank you.
Martha Miller, District Manager, Monroe County Soil and Water.
Thank you.
I don't know if the sound is working. I don't think it is.
You might have to unmute yourself.
I don't have a mic.
Weird. On your name, it's... Go ahead.
You'll have to reshare your window or screen, and at the top, it'll say include sound.
My screen. Couldn't share sound.
Mm.
No, you could send it to us. Send us a link.
No, but I will watch it if we get the link.
We could just do that. Let's just,
Share the link, and we can share it to our social media as
That's
well
great.
for the public.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
thanks.
Technology. I've had trouble myself actually figuring that point out, so I'm glad to see it's not just me. Thank you so very much. And moving on, our second order of new business is the Friends of Lake Monroe Septic Program Report.
Hello, I'm Maggie Sullivan with Friends of Lake Monroe. You may recall last year you funded a project to do a septic maintenance program in Monroe County in the Lake Monroe watershed. And I submitted a report in the packet. It's kind of summarizing how that went. This was the second time we'd done it in Monroe County. We contacted about 3,000 households who are people who live in the watershed portion of Monroe County and offered to reimburse them 50% of their septic pumping costs as a way to try and remind people they should be doing this every 3 to 5 years. We had about 80 households take advantage of that program again, so very similar to when we did it 2 years prior. We also had a septic education workshop with about a dozen very enthusiastic participants. Cheyenne Cox with the health department did a great job giving an overview of septic systems and answering tons of questions from the audience. So we felt it was a very successful program. Really appreciate your support in making that happen. I actually got a phone call last week from someone who saved their brochure from last year and wondered if we were still doing it. And I said, sadly not this time, but maybe again sometime in the future. There is a similar program running in Brown County right now, and we will be launching a program in Jackson County, doing a very similar thing later this summer. But happy to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Thomas, do you have any questions?
I don't. Thank you. Thanks for working on this. It helped us, our conversations helped us create our septic program that we use with ARPA money, and we're still running through that. So really
That's
good.
such an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Surveyor?
Yes. I guess, is there like a frequency of when you should have them checked? I'm assuming it's not annually, and if it is, I'm just a little ignorant on kind of septic tank management.
We usually say 3 to 5 years. It's hard to give a precise answer because it depends partly on how many people are in your household and how much water you're using, but every 3 years is a good rule of thumb.
So I really like this project. And one other thing I think is a notable point is some of these people received this mailer and wasn't really too interested in the voucher and went ahead and proceeded with getting their septic flushed, and that's really cool. So I think just, that gentle reminder is very neat. And I guess my thoughts around this is like, if maybe we don't offer the voucher, but we can help support the mailer, what would be a good frequency of sending those out? Like every 5 years, every 3 years? And I know everyone's not participating, but again, you don't want to inundate people with these and then they just kind of discard them. So
Sure.
I'm wondering if you have any thoughts, or maybe if you'd like to come back at a future meeting and like maybe discuss a way that we can continue to, send these messages or reminders out. And if we have the ability to support, some of the cost, that would be great.
Yeah, I think every 3 to 5 years, anywhere in that time frame is about right. I've heard some communities will time it with the elections. You got all these other signs for everything else, and it's a reminder out with the old, in with the new. And some people really get on board that messaging, but we would be happy to talk about doing another mailer in the future in a couple of years.
Okay, yeah, I just really love this whole project, so thank you.
Thanks.
I'd like the idea of some yard signs or something that could be put out at random times, and even if we can get them to the septic companies when they do the work, and people know that my neighbor's just done theirs, maybe I should do mine, and
Yeah.
that kind of a thing. So it could be a kind of a constant roving reminder of how important this is. Yeah, thank you.
And just, I guess, for fun, there is one image in there. I think it's going to be on page 9 of the packet. And for the public, they're all pretty witty, funny images, and I just thought it was kind of cool, cute, so I figured why not take a moment to spot that out.
Thanks.
Yes, I think that this is wonderful, and I really liked the lessons learned too. So I live in a neighborhood with septic, not in the Monroe County watershed, but we all are, happy adults, maybe not always happily functioning as adults, but happy adults. And we care about our homes, and we don't have basic knowledge about septic because oftentimes this is the first time we've had one. And so I remember this is like one of the most frequently discussed things when somebody moves into the neighborhood, especially from a different area. And I think that, this is an incredibly valuable educational program as well. Also, there are several people who rent who are on septic, and they don't necessarily know the connection between the garbage disposal and, the septic system and how bad, this is like any other system, everything's interrelated. And again, it's very valuable, I think. So I'd love to see an educational program, even asking landlords, to remind tenants, don't use wipes, don't, you put grease down the garbage disposal, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, very, very valuable. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And the final order of new business is the South Shore Drive Stabilization Project.
Hello, my name is Jason Moore. I'm the stormwater crew supervisor, and we've got a little bit of information here about that. South Shore Drive bank stabilization. I think the next slide shows.
It's a little delayed, sorry.
Yeah, the next slide shows that. So the green areas, we started this project several years ago. The green areas highlighted on the map there are areas that have been completed. The yellow is the areas that we are looking to complete. Slide. It was discovered a few years ago that the lake was causing bank erosion. And in this picture, where the delineator is, the white delineator, it's kind of hard to tell in the picture. But if you were standing out there, it's eroding toward the road right there. And a lot of it is undercut, and you can't even see it unless you're in the lake looking back toward the road.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
You mean undercut, like going down underneath the surface of the road?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yep, gotcha.
If you're standing on the road, you may not see from the road how much erosion's occurring underneath.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Eventually, the erosion starts affecting the roadway, evident by the cracking on the edges of the roadway and in the actual travel lanes. And in this picture, you can see the cracking going on next to the white line. Last year, we repaired 500 feet. You can see the cracking along the edge of the road where it was starting to affect the roadway. This area was one of the first we repaired about 8 years ago. The procedure we have chosen is holding up well and performing as it should. As you can see, it looks a lot like what we did last year, and that was 8 years ago.
What type of procedure are you doing? Because there's a number of different ways to do bank stabilization. Oh, I'm jumping the gun. Okay.
Just a tad bit.
All right.
But, we start the repair process by digging out the loosened soil and placing filter fabric against the bank, against the road, and the flat spot where we haven't dug underneath the water. The filter fabric helps hold the soil in place. Next, we will come in and we will armor and build out the bank with Class 1 riprap. to provide protection from the waves, water and the waves. We leave the shoulder down about 6 inches, and then we place another layer of fabric over that before adding number 53 stone to create the shoulder. This isn't South Shore Drive, but this is a similar project to show you kind of the process. Other questions?
Commissioner Thomas?
I will just say that I'm a frequent driver on this road. And I'm glad that this is going to happen. It's necessary. And I'm glad you found a good method that works. Sometimes that lake gets very choppy unexpectedly. Just the wind comes up, and it's been windy the last few months. And it's good to see that that's holding. This is also, when I did my ride along with the snowplow driver last winter, we went on this road and it was snowing at the moment. And I thought, I don't even know where the road is. It's a very dangerous stretch of road. It really is.
Yes.
There's no guardrails. People are walking, people are biking. It is a really dangerous stretch of road, but to have this stabilization program will actually keep this road there, which is what we really need. So I appreciate that information, and I'm glad that we're getting this done before the permit expires. Thank you.
Yes.
Surveyor Enright Randolph?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts, and I guess first one, I kind of agree with Commissioner Thomas that, if this seems like something that we could be proactive, that can also mitigate future county costs as far as like maintaining the road. I think the connectivity is huge in that area. I also would love to see like a larger relationship developed with the Lake Monroe Conservancy District. I mean, at one point, I think they were looking at this for another way to hold sediment, because we all know that there's a lot of erosion going in, and the lake floor is rising, where they actually lost some of their lake because it's now classified as a jurisdictional wetland. And I'm kind of curious of where there might be some alignment from a stormwater perspective, a county perspective, and the Lake Conservancy District perspective. And I'm sure there could be some good cooperation. I think it would be great. It kind of, we just had Friends of Lake Monroe come and speak, and, we took on some of the costs to really get some of the understanding from the watershed study and other initiatives that we could targeted, like septics and things of that nature. I think looking at Lake Lemon similar would be great. There's a lot of areas across the county that could use this type of attention, but since we're actually looking at a project right now, I'm really curious. One thing I know the Conservancy District had trouble with is actually getting rid of their sediment that they were collecting, and it was just piling up. So I'm not sure if we have empty dump trucks out there, if there's any way we could just fill them up and potentially find a place to store it. I know that a lot of this brings costs, time and effort, so it's not going to be an easy fix. I just really be curious of what kind of discussion could come of that with the Conservancy District and where those county interests can align. So you're going to get my support today. I really like the presentation, just even the simple understanding of where we were. A quick question. You said you've done some projects of the bank stabilization there 8 years ago. Is it the same method of stabilization?
Exact same method every year.
And how do you feel like that's holding up over 8 years?
Awesome.
Awesome.
Awesome. I don't know if we can go back to the pictures. The one with the grass right there. That was done 8 years ago.
Right there? Okay.
And go back to the previous picture. That was done last year.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So there's virtually, other than a little bit of grass growing, it's virtually hasn't changed in 8 years. And this picture here is on the map. the peak of the green, which is where most of the waves hit first. So that's why that section was done 8 years ago, because that was the worst hit.
Right.
So the last 8 years, we've went through and picked the worst sections to repair at a time. In some places, it dropped off right at the edge of the road.
Right.
So you can see in the pics how much shoulder we put on the road, which obviously that's made it a lot safer for people to travel.
I think it's fantastic, and I don't think it's any issues with maybe the turbidity of the water like we see in the White River, kind of approaching some of like our I-69. They did a huge project kind of similar with some of this bank stabilization to really protect their roadways. That's it. Over time, I might shoot you some information I gather across the state of different methods for bank stabilization. But if you feel like this is the right approach, knowing that you did it 8 years ago and is still holding up really well, I feel pretty confident. And again, thank you for all the information and kind of more of a thorough understanding of how we're going to be spending these dollars.
And thank you for your continued support of our crews and staff in these stormwater improvements. We appreciate it.
Thank the crews for their continued support of us.
Absolutely.
I definitely join my colleagues up here in saying the presentation was excellent, especially as someone who's new to public office, but not new to Lake Monroe. I often wondered, sort of how this process got done, and this was fascinating. And so this was definitely, of all of the dollars we spend, this is, I think, some of the most responsibly spent monies for projects, because again, this goes towards public health, safety, and welfare, and we also have extreme weather events. And it occurred to me too that we do have a pollution problem down there. People drop things in the lake. We do have, unfortunately, pollution on the lake surface, and this makes it easier to clean that up, because it's actually you can walk down, and I think it. I've seen crews cleaning in those areas, volunteers often, and it seems it's much easier on those sloped areas than when it just cuts off so abruptly. So, untold benefits.
Yeah. And just for clarification, this is Lake Lemon, where this is, the South Shore Drive is.
Yes.
This is Lake
Not
Lemon.
Lake Monroe, yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve Stormwater Board Resolution 2025-01 in support of the South Shore Drive Bank Stabilization Program for a total estimated cost of $160,000.
I'll second that. I'd like to call the vote.
Public comment.
Oh, public comment, yes. Are there any individuals here in the Net Hill room who would like to offer public comment on this matter? Seeing none, are there any members of the public online who would like to offer public comment on this matter? I see no hands, and so I think we're ready for the vote. We are. So again, this is the vote to approve the South Shore Drive Stabilization Project. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Well, there's no one, I think, online who would object. And so it looks like the ayes have it. Thank you so very much. And again, thank you for that wonderfully informative presentation. I just had one question too. These same bank stabilization procedures are in effect on Lake Monroe, correct? Or just on Lake Lemon?
Well, I don't think we have
We don't
any.
have jurisdiction, or I don't think we do very much over at Lake Monroe.
Okay, so we would not be responsible for that. In other words, I've seen similar arrangements there and volunteered there and not at Lake Lemon. And I just wondered if,
I think it's a common method because it's very straightforward, but I can't speak to exactly what they do there. It looks very similar, so my guess is it is a very similar tactic.
But not us.
but not us.
Excellent. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
And State Road 446 would be under state jurisdiction, not county, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
The only other place we'd see some stabilization efforts would be around our creeks and rivers.
Yes.
So,
Right,
and-
particularly when we have those Rails to Trails projects.
Yeah, there's a lot of different areas. There's some steering committees and watershed. Currently there's a Bean Blossom watershed committee or steering committee where there's some efforts that actually stormwater has supported with bank stabilization, and there's also a number of other creeks that are in dire need of that attention as well. So, I'll leave it to the stormwater manager and a program to kind of bring that forward. But it's one of my goals is to kind of see some of our efforts kind of addressing what I would say is a water quality as much as a water quantity. That kind of, I feel like bank stabilization is a hybrid of both of those. So, and also that ends up benefiting more ratepayers across the county. So, as we move forward, hopefully we'll see maybe some more of these efforts.
There are some in the several roads that follow the contours of creeks or streams, and so some of those areas where, especially if the creek is quite meandering, it can kind of encroach into the roadway. So I know that there's been several of those projects over the last several years just to help prevent collapse of the road.
And even smaller projects, like I know that there's a rain collection on the street I live on, and just even getting rock in there has made a huge difference. So.
Yes, and these efforts are only getting more important as the weather continues to get worse and we continue to see more flooding. Yes. Thank you so much. Any other comments? All right.
Reports.
I think we have staff reports.
I don't have anything major to bring to you. I will just say that the House Bill 1037 passed. So we are, working on our ordinance and looking at what needs to be updated to comply with that. So I'll be bringing something to you all probably next month for that, or July. I think it goes into effect July 1st. So
No, they're wasting no time there.
yes.
Do you think the bill is fairly comprehensible in terms of what must be done to comply? Because when I read it, I did not get, it seemed kind of obtuse.
Yes, I have to reach out to IDEM to see what if they have any directive available to us to help us. But my guess is that they are also a little bit at a loss.
Well, they've also been instructed to revamp their rules. And so we're going to have to do this again once they revamp, which is what we all saw coming. When this bill passed, or when this bill was introduced, we all saw that coming, that they were going to go ahead and change the stormwater rules, and now we're all going to have to live with whatever garbage they give us. Sorry. It's just the way it is.
It's really how I'd like to spend my time.
No, and it's part of a nefarious cycle because on the federal level, they've ordered, streamlining of regulations or stripping of environmental regulations. On the state level, we have to have, I think, state experts have to have recommendations for stripping regulations out that could hurt business, I think, and they're not necessary by January of next year. And so I don't see why, because again, it's just going to happen in waves, which might be appropriate for water, but is inefficient for stormwater commissions. Yes. Yes.
I had a question in regards, there's a lot going on in that bill that brings uncertainty. Kind of where IDEM within their own permits, they would defer to the local ordinance. So that creates this like endless loop. And I'm really curious, is IDEM going to take on the initiative to look at the state based off of its terrain, aquifers, all of those that make each area a bit unique across the state and kind of give guidance for, each county. And if you get a conversation, that would be the only question is like, do they even have the bandwidth to address something like that? No.
We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
You know that.
So
I mean,
I'm
yeah,
really
I mean,
curious
that's
how they're going to
anybody-
close that loop.
That's how anybody who's in science would do it, but that's not how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
They're just going to come up with blanket rules because they're focused on, they think it's business friendly to have terrible water quality and erosion throughout the state. Somehow that amounts to, let's bring more business in. I don't understand it. I never will. Nobody's going to want to live here.
It's going to wreak havoc on kind of our more dense areas like the city and the town because they have a lot of smaller sites that won't need a permit.
I think the question I would have you ask county legal, whether it be Mr. Schilling or Mr. Roddy, is how we're supposed to navigate this. Because if the bill is supposed to come effective July 1st, there's absolutely no way to preemptively know what they're going to do. So are we supposed to do 2 rounds? How quickly after the state makes its next move are we supposed to respond? What's the lag of time that we're permitted to actually figure this out? Because these are major code changes that will impact everybody in every neighborhood in a negative way. So that would be my question that I would have you pose to legal and have them help you with that.
Yes, I echo my colleagues' concerns. This is not a good thing. And we saw it with wetlands where they imposed a classification system and then they used the classification system to essentially gut wetlands protections last year. So not good for the future. Any other staff reports?
Not unless, I think Lisa just left, but I was gonna say, not unless Lisa has anything to add. So I think we are.
All right, then I think we're ready to adjourn. The date of our next meeting is June 4th, 2025. And until then, be safe and be well. Thank you so much for all you do.
Adjourned. Yes, we are adjourned. You have to say those magic words.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.